Guys, welcome back. We're at the notes for 8.6. Today we're going to be learning to solve these quadratic equations with the calculator. Basically, we're going to be using a graph to answer the questions. Okay, so a couple things I want to talk about. First is, what is this shape called? Because now when we graph things, it's not going to be a straight line. It's not going to be linear. These shapes are called parabolas. In other words, they are shaped like a U. They are created by squaring the x values. Okay, so our parent function now is going to be this equation. You will need to know this for the upcoming tests for units 8, 9, and 10 actually. Okay, so x squared is our parent function. If we were to think about solving that graph, how would you get x by itself? We know that we would square root both sides, and it would give us one solution. It would give us 0. There's no plus, there's no minus, there's only one x in our equation, so we only have one answer. Okay, let's talk about what our solutions or what our answers mean now. These three words, solutions, zeros, and roots, are all really fancy ways for asking you, where does this graph hit the x-axis? I'm going to highlight these. Ooh, I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see that. Let me try a different color. You are asking, where do I hit the x-axis? Okay, so in this problem, when I solved it for the parent function, I only got one answer. That's because I only hit the x-axis one time. I hit at this point 0. So whatever the number matches up with, that's where I'm hitting. Okay, let me go ahead and get rid of my highlighting. Okay, so sometimes on STAR or on our test, we're going to see a printed graph. If you see a printed graph, then you don't have to do much work. Let's look at this one. The equation says x squared minus 2x minus 8 equals 0. It's already equal to 0. We're already in good shape. Our solutions or our answers in those x equals with the squiggles is literally just, where do you cross, let me highlight it yellow, where do you cross this x-axis? Okay, so if I look at problem 1, I notice the origin is right here, so -1, -2. That's my first answer, -2. Where's my second answer? Well, 1, 2, 3, 4. So my solutions for where my graph hits the x-axis is at -2 on the left and +4 on the right. That's it. That's all you're learning to do right now, okay? You already know what the answer should look like. I'm just telling you what it means to get it on a graph, okay? Let's look at problem 2. On problem 2, the equation x squared minus x minus 6 equals 0. It already equals 0, so the equation's good to go. When I say roots, I literally mean the exact same stuff. Tell me where you hit the x-axis. Okay, I'm going to write that on here for you too. Where do you hit the x-axis? Well, the x-axis is this line right here. I can see where 0 is in the origin, so I've got -1, -2. That's my first one, is on -2. And then if I count to the right side, I hit 1, 2, 3. I hit +3. Those are my two answers. I don't have to do any work. I just look at the graph, okay? Now, not every problem on this assignment am I going to give you the printed picture of the graph. Some of them you're going to have to put them in the graphing calculator, right? That's why we have that. So I'm going to give you this little set of instructions. You will not have this on the test, okay? This is something that we will use a lot, and hopefully you will have that memorized. Okay, so first of all, we're going to make a graph. I am okay if you don't go to the graph option. Let me show you on your calculator screen. I am okay instead if you use the graph right here for Scratchpad, or if you go to this button over here, okay? So if you go into a graph for Scratchpad, I think that is perfectly sufficient, okay? All right, second thing we're going to do is type in the equation and press enter, okay? So I'm going to pull back in my graph, and I'm going to type in the problem that we did, the exact same one on your paper. We're going to type it in for x squared minus 2x minus 8. Now, I'm not going to type the equal 0 because it already has an equal sign, okay? And then I'm going to press enter. When I do that, I get pretty lucky. I can see that it hits right here at -2, and I can see that it hits right here at +4. But I want to show you the steps if it's not at a whole number, because we all know that we can get fractions and we can get decimals. Okay, so I'm going to move this out of the way. Okay, if you want to find an x-intercept or a solution or a root or a 0, it's all the same thing. These are going to be your power buttons. Okay, so let me see if I can zoom in so you can see it a little bigger. we're going to do this twice. We have to do it once to find the left solution, once to find the right solution. We are going to go Menu, Analyze the graph, and find the 0. Remember, 0 literally just means x-intercepts. Okay? It's going to give you these black dashed lines, and you pretty much just highlight what you want. Okay? So if I know my solution is right here, then as long as I start anywhere on the left, highlight and click anywhere on the right, it's going to give me that answer. Okay, so let me zoom out and let's pull our calculator back over here and try that one time. Okay, all right, so if I'm in here, I'm going to go Menu, Analyze my graph, and find my 0. You see this little dashed line? Literally all you need to do is you see that point is going to intersect right there. I'm going to put it somewhere on the left, click, somewhere on the right. I can go way over here, or I can just go kind of halfway, and it's going to show me my answer. Now, I will tell you, you can outsmart the calculator. Watch. Right now, the number that I have highlighted over in gray is showing me -2. Okay? Watch what happens if I keep sliding and I don't click. As soon as I cross over the other one, it's going to erase that answer and show me the other one. So watch. Oh, I have 2 answers, right? I have this one, -2, and I have this one, +4. Notice that I don't want the y number, I don't want the 0, I just want the x's, okay? So you can get away with doing the step only one time as long as you highlight wide enough to get both, okay? All right, I'm gonna go ahead and hold down my delete button. Do I want to delete everything? Yes, because I'm gonna go to my next question. And tab, right here above the yellow button, tab is how you're going to pop up a new graph, okay? All right, so let's scroll back in our notes, and let's look at problems 3, 4, 5, and 6. Hopefully you notice that all of these questions are set up a little incorrectly, right? We need them to equal 0. So I'm going to do that first. On problem 3, my 4 is in the wrong spot, so I'm going to jump him to the other side. Let's rewrite it. X squared -4 equals 0. Remember that when you move it to the other side, it does change to a different sign. So it was +4, changes to a -4. Okay? Let's do the same thing for the -9. I'm going x squared -6x plus 9 equals 0. Okay? One more, number 5. We are moving the -5. We got 2x squared -11x plus 5 equals 0. Number 6 is already done for us, okay? All right, I'm going to erase or cover up the notes right now, and we're going to focus on the calculator. I'm going to go through and do 2 things. First thing I'm going to do is get my table. I'm going to show you guys how to use that for the first time. Get my table so I can graph my points, and then we will talk about how to decide what the answer is, okay? All right, so I'm in my graph. I'm typing in my equation, so I've got x squared -4 equals 0, but I don't need the equal, right? It already has an equal sign. When I press enter, I can kind of already see what the answers are, right? Because they're whole numbers. But if I'm going to graph it, which you are going to need to do on your practice, let's look at what that does. I'm going to go Control T. That's how I make my table. Control T makes the table. Control T takes it away. Okay, so Control T to make my table. And I want to look at all the possible points that would fit on my graph, okay? So like if I look down here, 521, my graph doesn't go that high. 412, my graph does not go that high. But 35, it does, okay? So I'm going to slide this over, and I'm going to move my notes page over so we can see them at the same time, okay? All right, so if I am using, click here. If I am using these points over here, 3, 5 is just asking for the point where x is 3 and y is 5. Will you guys put a dot right here on him? Okay, if I look at my other table point, I have 2, 0. So x is 2, y is 0. That's this point right here. 1, -3, x is 1, y is -3. And actually in my table, I can keep scrolling, so I'm going to keep going up. 0, -4, that's down on the y-axis. Keep going up. -1, -3. Oh, look, it starts to look like a mirror. We're going to have the same points on both sides. You are welcome to use that as your strategy. Watch what happens again then. -2 goes to 0. Oh, it's a mirror point. One more time, -3 goes to 5. It's a mirror point. Okay? All of these guys have a mirror on the other side. Okay? When you connect them, make sure that your graph is a curve. It touches every point, and we do need arrows up at the top. That shows me that if I had a bigger graph, I could keep going. Okay? All right. I'm going to go ahead and put the calculator back in the screen for now. Okay? We're going to get rid of the table, Control-T, and we're going to hold down the delete button to get rid of everything you have. Okay? If you need a second to pause and finish question 3, please do that. We're about to go ahead and work question 4. I know we haven't written the answer yet. I'm just getting the graphs in the calculator. Okay. All right, I press Tab to make a new equation, and we are going to type in x squared minus 6x plus 9. No equals 0. It already has an equal sign. And press Enter. All right, so same process again. We are going to need to get our table. Control-T makes my table. Whoops, I hit Tab. Escape. Control-T, there we go. Gets my table. I'm going to move it over here so we can see it. And let's look at our graph for this next problem. Oops. There we go. Okay, so on problem 4, when we're graphing these points, remember we only want ones that will fit. Okay, so if I am on this point right here, 1, 4, yep, 1, 4 fits on my graph, so I'm going to graph 1, 4. 2, 1, yep, 2, 1 fits on my graph. Make your dot right here. 3, 0. 4, 1. Oh, there's the mirror point. It's starting to go back up. And if I go down just kind of a little bit, I can see 5, 4 is going to be my last point. 6, 9 would not fit, so I get to stop at 5, 4. If you need to take a second to finish your dots, go ahead. But we're going to connect the lines or connect the curve, the parabola, and make sure that you put arrows on the end of your graph. Okay? Please make sure that you are not drawing a connect the dots, so it should not look like that. Okay? It should be a curve, a parabola. There we go. All right, we're going to make 2 more graphs, and then we'll talk about answers, okay? All right, so if I move this back over here, we are about to do number 5. Let me show you what I'm doing on the calculator, and then we'll move back. Okay, so Control-T gets rid of the table. Hold down Delete gets rid of the graph. And Tab lets me type a new equation. All right, so we're going 2x squared minus 11 plus 5. No equals 0. Woo, 11x, that's my bad. Make sure it's 2x squared minus 11x plus 5. And I press Enter. All right, this one definitely is going to start causing us trouble right here because he does not hit at a whole number, right? Okay, so we're still going to do the table, Control-T. Slide this guy over here, and we're going to look for some points that fit. Okay, well, if I start up here, negative 235, nowhere close, right? Negative 118, no. 0, 5 will fit. Let's go ahead and graph 0, 5. We'll zoom him in a little bit. So 0, 5. I can fit 1, negative 4. That's way down here. It's a really steep parabola. Okay, 2, negative 9 doesn't fit. But let's see if we can get our shape. If I keep scrolling, look what happens. 3, negative 10. Ooh, it's coming back up. 4, negative 7. 5, 0. There's another point. And what about the last one? 6, 11. All right, well, let's go back and look at what our graph looks like so we kind of have an idea of what shape we're looking at. I'm going to hit Control-T, get rid of that table. All right, I can clearly see that my graph goes off of the screen, but I can tell that the shape is facing upward. So here's how we're going to use that. We're going to try to kind of copy that. We're going to slope down like this. We're going to go off the graph, and then we're going to come back up over here, hit that 5, and cross over. Now, I'm going to zoom in real quick. Notice down here that I did not go between 2 and 4. I never hit him here. Okay. Also notice up here that I never went past the 6 mark, and I never went past the negative 1 mark. Okay, it's important to stay in your boundaries. Okay. All right, we're going to do one more. Let's hit number 6. So I'm going back to my calculator. Okay, hold down delete, gets rid of the equation. Hit tab, lets you make the new equation. So last one, x squared plus 3x, plus 3x plus 7. Okay. Ooh, this one's kind of tricky. If I'm looking at this problem and I'm noticing that it doesn't really get down and touching the x-axis, I'm still going to graph it. Okay, so I'm still going to go to a table, Control T. I'm going to look over here. Ooh, those numbers are kind of big. All right, so 111 definitely doesn't fit. All of these numbers look way too big. 17, 25, way too much. Let's go up a little and see what we got. All right, 17 still doesn't really fit. -15 does. We can put that point on here. -25, I can put that here. But the rest of them go up, 7, 11, 17, all right? So let's see, we know our shape is supposed to be like a little parabola up at the top. So I'm just going to draw it like this. Little parabola up at the top, okay? All right, I'm going to zoom out for a second. Will you make sure you have all of those graphs written down before we talk about answers? Okay, so they should all be on here. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about answers. Starting with problem 3. On problem 3, if I ask you again, where does my graph hit the x-axis? Hopefully you notice there are 2 answers. They're whole numbers. We graph them like that. So my solutions would just be -2, 2. Those are the only 2 places it hits the x-axis. They're both whole numbers. We're in good shape. Problem 4. If I ask you, where does this graph hit the x-axis? Well, it only hit one time. It almost bounced off of my problem. These are the ones where my answers would look something like this. We'd say there's only one x, I only write one answer, right? So in this case, there is only one 0, or solution, or root, and it's that same answer. It's going to be a 3. I only hit the graph right here on 3. Okay. All right, I'm going to skip 5 for a second. Let's look at number 6. If I ask you on problem 6, where did this graph hit the x-axis? Well, it very clearly doesn't touch. So can you make a note of that? Does not touch x-axis. What are the kinds of answers that we're using right now when we don't have an answer? Hopefully you remember we can't just say no answers or no solutions. We're going to say non-real answers. That is our word for what we say if we don't have what x equals, okay? Non-real answers. Okay. All right. The only problem that we haven't put an answer on so far is number 5. I want you to notice that number 5, if I ask you where it hits on the x-axis, I can see one of these, right? I can see that it hits right here on 5. But this guy is a decimal. So this is one of those problems where I'm going to need to pull up that little highlighter again on my calculator and solve for his answer. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. I'm going to move this over here. I'm going to go back to my calculator, and I'm going to get rid of my table, delete everything out, and I'm going to get problem 5 typed back in again. Okay, so 2x squared minus 11x plus 5. If you need to pause the screen for a second and get back to here, please do that now. Perfect. Okay. So we already know that this point is 5, right? I can see it's crossing right at a whole number. But this one, I don't know. It might be a 1/2. It might be 0.4. It might be 2/3. We don't really know. So we're going to go in our calculator and go Menu, Analyze, find the 0. Remember, your first time you click should be over here on the left. Click one time. By click, I mean like this little center guy. You're going to slide it across until you cross over that 0. Now, it gives me 0.5, which is great. I'm going to double check my other one. Remember, he should be 5. Ooh, it doesn't give it to me yet. Okay, so it gave me 0.5. I can see that answer. If I wanted to move it, I could. Just going to double check one time that the other one works. So Menu, analyze, find the 0. If I was to come highlight this guy, he would give me 5 also. Okay, so that is what you see in the calculator. Here's what we put on our paper. So we're going to say my x is equal to 0.5, comma 5. If you know 0.5 is 1/2 and you write 1/2, I am totally good with that option. Just make sure, there we go. Just make sure that you are putting equal decimals. If you don't know, then leave it as a decimal, okay? All right,